40% of the jobs that exist today will disappear by the end of the decade. What if humans could be taken out of those jobs and replaced with their digital doubles? AI is not a deity, it's not a god, it's not religion that you have to believe in.
Welcome to Inspired by Success, the podcast where I deep dive into the mindset of successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and thought leaders. Get ready to be inspired and gain valuable insights to unlock your true potential.
Transform your financial future with this episode sponsored by KE Financial Services.
Welcome to Inspired by Success. Today we have our guest, Sani Abdul-Jabbar, CEO of Viztech. He was on the show last month in February because we were discussing AI and how it can help businesses. And the reason why I brought him back on the show was because one of the shorts actually that we spoke about, which was AI cybercrime, it went viral on Instagram with over 3 million views. And a lot of the comments, there was so many shares, but a lot of the comments on there were fake, scam, BS. So today we're going to clarify that topic and why deep fakes are happening. We're going to clarify that and talk about some other interesting topics on AI as well. So it's going to be a great episode and I'm really excited to have you back on the show. So welcome back, Sani.
Thank you very much for having me back. Good to see you again. It's going to be an interesting conversation today.
Definitely. Tell me, what are your thoughts on that viral video? Did you want to clarify? One, we did make a bit of an error and it was in Hong Kong instead of Singapore. That was an error. Yeah. But a lot of people made it about race as well. Like, why did you depict a black guy? It was just nothing to do with race. It was all, we're just bringing awareness about the cybercrime. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I went through many of those comments and tried to understand what people were saying and why were they saying what they were saying. As you mentioned, there was a little error. I mistakenly mentioned that the heist took place in Singapore. It was actually Hong Kong. And I also said that it was a bank where the heist took place. It was not a bank. It is a multinational corporation. We don't know the name because the crime is still under investigation, alleged crime is still under investigation, and the police has not released the name of the corporation. So we don't know that. I actually reached out to my friends in Hong Kong and asked them if they could figure out, use some connections, whatnot, but they couldn't. So that was a mistake on my part. Having said that, I've been thinking why there was so much pushback. Some people called it fake news, even bad word. They used even worse words than that. The funniest one was when someone said, well, why don't you share peer-reviewed source? Come on, man. It's a crime. It's a developing story. It's a news, peer-reviewed. Linda, you shared the link. I think it was from CNN. People still kept calling it fake news. My theory, it's just a theory, I'm not a psychologist, is that when we are afraid of something, the fear response is either fight or flight. In the context of social media, fight is posting negative comments and the flight is just denial, calling it doesn't exist. It's fake. However, if you look at the numbers, so the latest data that I have is from mid-2023 for the United States, AI-enabled crimes that were deepfake-enabled crimes, they went from 0.2% of the crimes to 2.6% of the crimes. Interestingly, during the same time period, traditional crimes, for example, document forgery, where misrepresentation is done, those crimes went down tremendously. In some areas, down to zero. And the reason I think for that is the AI and deepfake tools are so easily available. All you need is a person's image and you can convert that into a 3D persona. When that happens, it's so much easier to do that versus doing a crime the old school way. So I think that's why it happened. But I do appreciate all the comments, good and bad. And I do very much appreciate people who called me out on those two mistakes that I made in my statement.
But we were just discussing it and recalling it. You know what I mean? So I don't know why people have such strong feelings about it. Can we just talk about what is a deepfake? Because I looked it up and from the Oxford Dictionary, a deepfake is a video of a person in which their face or body has been digitally altered so they appear to be someone else, typically used maliciously or to spread false information. So I don't know why people don't believe that deepfakes are around. And I wanted to share also, there is a website called HeyGen, and if you go into it, and I'll show you now how realistic a deepfake can be. I'll quickly show you the demo. This is Joshua. He's the CEO of HeyGen.
Hey there, this is AI Joshua, co-founder and CEO of HeyGen. The core value of HeyGen starts from generating avatar videos, and you can do that with just typing text. I will guide you through the process of getting started.
It's just crazy with deepfakes becoming more sophisticated. I think there's a lot of topics that we can talk about this because there's benefits and there's negatives to having deepfakes. for me, I saw the positives and I thought maybe not on the macro level, but
Yeah.
I'd love to get your opinion because I was thinking concepts as a content creator, you can just replicate yourself, and we'll talk about another article afterwards as well. But I just saw the positives, and then I've just slowly started reading more of the negatives and more articles on people using deepfakes.
Yeah.
Like this morning, I read an article about a creator who found out there was a deepfake of her being used in an ad for an erectile dysfunction commercial. And it was pretty violating because when she clicked on the content, she found it was basically pornographic. She didn't understand where they got that from, but she realized that there was a 30-minute video of her on YouTube discussing her divorce. So they could have used that. And as a content creator myself, I think that's pretty scary and very violating in a way, because I was thinking clones, just use deepfakes to clone yourself so you can make more of yourself in a positive way. But then that's the downside, having that. So what is your thoughts on that, Sunny?
So deepfakes have improved a lot in recent years. So saying that deepfakes don't exist, HeyGen is an excellent example, and there are many others. By the way, deepfake is a word that I think it's driven by the usage of this technology. So if you were using the same technology for another reason, you wouldn't call it deepfake. You might call it digital double or digital representation or AI or avatar or something else. So deepfake is more about the intent of use than the technology itself. With that clarification. Now, when you look at deepfake, you look at if it's good or bad, you look at it from visual perspective, your audio perspective, seamlessness, accessibility, all these things matter. If you look at it from visual, on that grounds, digital doubles or deepfakes, they have reached a level where the quality is very high, the details, the skin tone, the expressions, everything is just on target. So is audio. I think during our last conversation, we talked about 11 Labs. And if you record your own voice, 11 Labs can then use your voice, use that as a model, and then you can use that voice to create more audio in your voice, in your style, in your accent, pronunciation, everything. Sounds perfect. Then there's seamlessness. Seamlessness is when you go from one scene to another, or the light, or how the object in the context of its surrounding and all that, how it relates and how it looks. That has improved a lot. And then the biggest thing is accessibility and ease of creation. So you don't need a lot of technological skills at this point. All you need is, a simple account and very basic tech skills, and it's available to everybody. So that's why we see more and more of this. It doesn't mean that deepfakes, to get really, really good deepfake, the level of that Hong Kong story, you still need some tech skills. You need lots of computation power. The HeyGen CEO demo that you just did, if you look closely, there is something odd about the expressions and how the face moves and the rest of the body. So there's a little bit of that. But there's one thing to remember. When AI doesn't do something perfectly, it simply means that it's evolving. It's still evolving. When was the first time most people heard about AI? That's when ChatGPT became a household name in the November of 2022. So this is very early on in the evolution of AI. If it can do something today, just wait a few days and it'll be able to do it. So instead of denial, looking at these technologies as something that can be used for good as well. Given your example, the social media person, most new technologies, when they're in the hype phase, they either end up in the defense sector or the adult entertainment sector. That's most technologies. Look back, internet, anything else.
Why is that? Why are those two industries the most? Is that because it's the most profitable?
They're the most profitable. They are the most shady, I guess. In the case of defense, there's a lot of secretive stuff going on. And then also in the adult entertainment, it's somewhat private, right? People keep it private. So that there's that. And just the way human mind works, I guess. So that's what happens with most technologies. But once you get out of the hype phase and then you start seeing more serious applications of technologies. Last time we talked about these new products that Microsoft is about to launch in coming months. And they have launched some of those already for the entertainment industry, for the filming industry. And this is like really, really high-end AI products that will not be available to general public because they're very expensive to own and operate. And those kind of products, they can build full-scale feature films, 3 hour long, 2 hours long movies, just from few images or description or very simple input. You may have seen that video that OpenAI included in the demo of this new video generation program that they have introduced. There is a video in which a Japanese woman is walking on a wet street in a rainy day. You can hear her footsteps, her heel touching the floor. If you read the prompt that was used to create that video, it does not say anything about the heel or the wet street or the reflection or any of that. It simply says a woman walking on the street on a rainy day in Tokyo. And then AI is smart enough to compile all other elements that would be part of a scene like that. So that's where we are with this technology. Now, do we use it for deepfake purpose or do we use it for something higher level, higher purpose? That's up to us. It's a tool. We choose how we use it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That video, when it was out, I just thought, how amazing is that? I thought about the industry that's going to be affected, though, which is pretty sad as well. I've got a friend who is a stuntman, and he said, yeah, his industry is gone because why would they need to have stuntmen when they could just 3D cameras, and it just probably saves a lot of money on insurance as well. So he knows that his industry is gone. Like, I found out, this is an old story. This article is from the LA Times. This girl who was an influencer, originally I think she was a Snap influencer. Her name is Karen Majori. Originally she had 2 million followers on Snapchat and made a digital clone of herself. So she sparked a lot of controversy by launching an AI chatbot clone of herself, dubbed Karen AI, for fans to chat with. She's a smart girl too, because she made romantic companions, aimed to cure loneliness using aspects of cognitive behavioral therapy. But it's just, she made $1 per minute for voice chats and $5 minimum to message her directly. So she made so much money. Some people see AI as enhancing human interaction, but others worry it will affect human authenticity and relationships in the digital age. So AI clones have sparked interest from both influencers and fans seeking deeper connections and memorable experiences. Gosh, she's making a killing doing clones of herself, because that's a benefit that she's taken that opportunity and used it for her advantage. But yeah, the downside is people losing jobs. And what I mentioned before, how it could use the privacy part, where, like, I've seen on YouTube as ads, the CEO of MicroStrategy, it was a deep fake of him trying to not sell Bitcoin, but you can win Bitcoin. So that was a scam. And CEO of Coinbase, and I've even seen CEO of Twitter. But like we said before, the technology is only going to get better. So people have to be more aware of it. But I think it's also going to bring less trust, but more face-to-face interaction. So what are your thoughts on that?
So digital doubles, what we're calling deepfake, I'll call it digital double because that's the tech. The deepfake is the intention, how we use it. So when we use the example of this social media person who used it for romantic partners, AI kind of thing, if you go on ChatGPT right now and look at the plugins that are available inside ChatGPT and search, romantic partner or something, keywords along those lines, you would find dozens of those sort of plugins. And people are using it. You talked about the negative of that kind of product, emotional dependence, distortion of human relationships. The bigger issue, privacy and data security concerns. If people dependency and emotional bond with an AI entity, and this AI entity starts asking them, tell me your mother's maiden name and social security number and things like that. Well, in the US, we use this information to open bank accounts. In the context of other countries, other privacy and data, information that's private, aren't people likely to disclose that information to this AI? I'll tell you a real story, actually. I think I shared it with you during our last conversation too. We created digital doubles, same technology that's used in the deepfake purpose, but our purpose was to create digital doubles of therapists, behavioral therapists. And so what we did is we created these products which were based on the behavioral methods of a specific therapist who is working with a specific patient. And then we gave this digital therapist to this particular patient who has been working with this human therapist for quite a while. So they have a report built. The purpose of this experiment was, is there a difference between how people interact with the digital double of the human therapist? Turned out there is. The patients were more open to the digital therapist, digital double, than they were to the human with whom they had been working for a while in some cases. So the patients were more open, more transparent, more likely to disclose private information versus their experience with a human therapist. So when you see that kind of stuff happening, that's risky. In the case of a therapist or doctor-patient, there's some confidentiality aspect there. But in the case of the product that you mentioned, a romantic partner, there's no expectation of privacy. There's no expectation of data security. The company collecting the data can do whatever they want with it. So that's the biggest concern, in addition to, of course, its impact on human relationships and families and things like that. The positive side of it, as I mentioned, we can extend the effectiveness, we can expand the effectiveness of human professionals, such as in the example of the therapists. So that happened. Then loneliness is a big issue in the Western world. In the US, at least, loneliness has become a pandemic level issue, and our government entities, they're taking steps to address it, especially among the elderly and older population. So these kind of technologies, I have seen few products that are used specifically to provide that digital companions to the elderly in retirement communities, and they've been effective. Then developing social skills. A few years ago, I saw toys. I think it was in Japan, if I'm not wrong. And these toys were created to teach children kindness and compassion towards each other. So when the child says something, the toy would analyze the word, and it was LLM based type product. They would analyze the word, and if the word is not kind, then this toy, in a very friendly, child appropriate, age appropriate language, it would try to explain to the child why this word is not appropriate, and maybe they should use a different word that would be more kind and compassionate towards other people. So those toys are a form of digital double, right? Inside, they look like toys, but inside the tech is the same tech. So they're using it to teach social skills. So all these technologies where we can create these digital doubles, they can have positive use cases, as I shared a few with you. Again, it's a technology. It's up to us how we use it. It's a tool.
It's just crazy how technology is advancing so fast. I saw an article about a robot too. It's a favetutor.com. So basically, OpenAI makes Figure's robot talk like human. Video went viral. And here is the video. I'm just going to quickly play it. It's Figure O1 plus OpenAI speech-to-speech reasoning. It just makes me think of Terminator. Watch this.
Hey, Figure 1, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Great, can I have something to eat?
Sure thing.
Great. Can you explain why you did what you just did while you pick up this trash?
On it. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
Great. So, based on the scene right now, where do you think the dishes in front of you go next?
The dishes on the table, like that plate and cup, are likely to go into the drying rack next.
Great. Can you put them there?
Of course.
I won't play the full clip, but when I was just watching that, I just realized for the people that are lonely, imagine what can happen in the future when you can recreate a voice of someone that you've lost. And it's just like that Neuralink. I've read something on Twitter about the first cyborg, the guy that had the chip in his brain, and he's in a wheelchair, but he's using that chip. So there's so much benefits to it. So what are your thoughts on that?
So first, I'm fully aware that lots of this stuff that we're talking about, it almost sounds like sci-fi.
Yeah, Terminator.
And that's okay. Terminator, right? You mentioned Terminator, right?
Yeah.
And then this chip in the head and all that. But it's happening. It's happening right now. Neuralink has already demonstrated they can do it. I know there was a project going on a few years ago. I haven't looked at it recently. Here in Los Angeles, not too far from where I am right now. Their project was to connect recording devices with human brain directly. So two-way link. And the purpose of that was dementia patients who can't retain their memories. So the idea was, what if we could record everything that they're going through during a day and then keep it. And the next morning, when they forget everything what they did yesterday, you put these memories back in their head. And then you keep accumulating those memories. And these patients, every morning, they get a download of the memories they have accumulated until that point, right?
That's scary.
Wonderful use case. That is scary, right? Of course, as
It's
we
good and
always
it's
find
bad.
ways to.
Yeah.
It's a tool. It's up to us how we use it, right? Can be misused. Absolutely, can be misused. As for robots, there is a lot of fear of robots as well. And a lot of that is induced by Hollywood, Terminator being one of those examples. Whenever I bring up AI or robots, there's always one person in the room or more who would mention Terminator.
Yeah.
So that happens. I think fully autonomous robots are, in certain industries, it's not the matter of thinking or believing. They exist. In the war zones, in Ukraine situation, Russia-Ukraine situation, you have fully autonomous drones, you have fully autonomous tanks and other devices that are being used. By the way, when we say robots, many people think humanoid robot, a robot that looks like a human. That is not necessary. We use humanoid robot only when there's a reason to do that. If you just need an arm, for example, a use case would be on an assembly line where this arm need to move things around. You don't need a full human body. You can just have one arm, right? A vacuum cleaning robot in your house doesn't have to look like a human, but it's a robot. It does its thing, right? So humanoid robot is one thing, but robots itself, they exist in many different shapes and forms, sizes, and they're performing functions in many different industries. So that's happening. That's not too far away. The fear that comes from Terminator-like analogies, that fear is, so those type of things are either the result of artificial general intelligence, where machines become self-aware and then self-interest becomes and self-preservation becomes important to them. And then we become secondary, our interest becomes secondary, their interest becomes primary. And if we haven't raised them well, if we haven't trained them well, developed them well, based on ethics and based on human values, then yeah, we are in trouble. And that's why I wrote a whole book in the subject, human values, and why it's important to raise these machines and train these machines on human values like kindness, compassion, empathy, and the like. That scenario is still a little bit farther away. It's not here yet. I was listening to Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, just this morning, and he seems to agree with this, that artificial general intelligence is not here yet. It will get here at some point, but it's not here yet. The other scenario in which these machines can go after humans is when they're being controlled by somebody else, another human, such as in war zones when, yes, they're autonomous, but they're told to go do something destructive or kill somebody, hurt somebody. In that case, do we blame the machines or do we blame the humans? That's up for discussion. But at the same time, there are, I think I saw some numbers. Actually, I'm careful in quoting numbers now because your audience pays attention to the details. So I won't mention the number because I'm not 100% confident. But there are thousands of job types, and this is in the context of the United States, thousands of job types which are perceived dangerous for one reason or the other, physically dangerous. So that, think mining, think working in sewers, or fixing internet and data lines under the ocean, things like that, or war zone job, law enforcement. What if humans could be taken out of those jobs and replaced with their digital doubles or artificial intelligence of some sort, or robots of some sort, or even remotely controlled representations, avatars of humans that could take care of those jobs? Would we complain that AI is taking over jobs or humans, they're losing? No, we won't, because we are saving lives. We are making the world a safer place for these workers. Then another statistic data point that I read recently is that there's a very large number of people, again, in the context of the United States, and I think it's true worldwide, people who are in jobs they don't have the option. They're pretty much forced to take jobs where they're not happy. They don't like that work. It can be as simple as being a cubicle worker, or it could be as complex as working near an active volcano. Who knows? But the point is that if you had the option to not take that job, if you had the option to do something else, or take that job but work in that job in such a way where your digital double or your robot companion can go and take care of the dangerous side of the work while you sit in some, safe, comfy place and work together alongside these machines, but you don't have to be physically there. Sounds sci-fi-ish, but some forms of these sorts of technologies exist right now. Think bomb disposal squad. You must have seen it in movies and shows, and I have seen it at least once from a distance, where humans were standing far away and they sent a little robot that goes to this suspicious package and it opens it and makes sure it's not a bomb, things like that. And if it's a bomb, it can defuse it. So when we think of these technologies as not our necessarily replacement, but addition to our abilities, then it's a different kind of conversation. When we think of digital doubles as our helpers, not deep fake threats, then it's a different conversation. And I think that's where a lot of attention need to go and resources need to go so that we can, as a society, as a global society, we can benefit from these technologies instead of being afraid of them.
Yeah. Some things that come to mind about robots is, I'm just envisioning having in the future, like in the movies, having a robot. What is that Will Smith movie where you have a robot in your house and doing all the things? But the problem is if the robot breaks down and something happens there. So that's, I guess it's like you said, the programming from Hollywood movies as well. So
Yeah, a lot of that. What you just described, actually, I've seen that scene. It was in one of the movies where this person, I think he's a dock worker, and the robot breaks down, and the dock worker has to then go out in person in the human world, and he has to interact with everything in the real physical world. So there is a movie on that very subject that you just brought up, and it's real. Yeah, it can happen. But like everything else, machines break down. So what? We have backup plans. We have redundancies. We have all sorts of solutions can be brought. I think the point that I'm trying to get across is that there is a lot of responsibility that lies on our shoulders. How are we building these machines? I mentioned values earlier. So every AI need to be built on some values model. And one would argue, and people have argued, I've listened, they say, yeah, every AI model is built on some values. But whose values? And the issue is that if we leave those values to just individuals or developers or companies who are driven by profits or governments even, I don't think that's going to solve the problem. I think we need to have conversations at the level similar to the conversations that took place when the world was deciding what to do with the nuclear weapons. I think that's the level where the conversations need to take place.
yeah.
Where the world can agree on some sort of global standards on the use of these technologies and the development of these technologies, because it's not too late yet. I believe we still have time where we can build in the right kind of values and ethics into these emerging tech so that we don't get in trouble in the future, so that we don't have to deal with Terminator-like scenarios in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And we all have to work together too, because I know that companies are always competing against each other, especially with all the tools now with AI. Everyone wants to be better. Elon Musk's buildings trying to outdo OpenAI. Like there's always, and probably another country in China, who knows, they're trying to build even better technology with AI too.
Yeah.
But speaking of industries that are going to be affected and the benefits, I read an article and there was something about the top industries that are going to be affected. I'll just mention a few. So we got healthcare. With healthcare, there's AI enables proactive patient care using predictive analytics and IoT devices. So that's one. That's a benefit there. Customer service and experience. So these are the benefits. We've got chatbots that can help. There's AI-powered chatbots to streamline customer support and help with the processing. Then we've got banking, financial service, and insurance. So AI can help detect fraud and fraudulent transactions more effectively and efficiently. Then we've got logistics. So inventory optimization, predictive analytics optimizes inventory and route planning, which is perfect, which ties along with retail. So retail analytics, AI can optimize supply chain and in-store product arrangement based on customer preferences. Cybersecurity, so threat detection, AI can monitor networks for suspicious activities and minimize cyber threats. There's also transportation, autonomous vehicles, AI enables self-driving cars and trucks, improving safety and efficiency. Marketing, it can help personalize messaging, marketing messages based on customer preferences. Then we've got the defense. So like you mentioned before, the weapons, AI advances autonomous weapon systems that can help without having a person being there, like the bomb diffusion part. What are your thoughts on that? And because of all these industries that are going to get improved, there's obviously a lot of people going to be out of work. And I remember hearing even Elon Musk, the chat about universal basic income. So he's all for having that because a lot of jobs, it's a whole new massive shift. So there's going to be a need for universal basic income for the people that get left out. But what are your thoughts on that too?
Many years ago, I think it was 2015 or 16, I was invited to speak at Caltech, California Institute of Technology, in front of a bunch of PhDs. And somehow the topic was universal basic income. That wasn't the topic. The topic was how to find jobs in a jobless future when everything is automated and how you can earn your money. So I spoke for 45 minutes and I presented a few ideas and universal basic income was one of those ideas. Boy, these PhDs, they tore me apart on stage. They did not like the idea. They did not think it was practical, and that there was 100% opposition to the idea in a room full of these very, very smart people.
Socialism, they're against it's communism, socialism. Is that the reason?
America is a capitalistic society. So in a capitalistic society, every man, every woman is on their own, right? You earn whatever you want. Nothing is given for free. So this idea of, free health or free education or free money or free anything is frowned upon. Now, that's not to say that we don't have social service programs. We do. They're not taken lightly, if that makes sense. So that was 2015 or 16, I think. Now, 2024, the idea of universal basic income is actually being tested in California on a limited scale. There are different counties, different cities, governments that have tested this idea. And I think what happened is that during COVID, when the government, they doled out a lot of money to different communities and different individuals and businesses, that kind of opened the door and opened the minds towards this concept where, well, if there's no work, I can't go to work, I can't make money like it happened during COVID-related lockdowns. Well, someone has to cover my expenses. So I think that played a role. Universal basic income is not the only answer. Let's take a step back. A scenario in which all jobs are gone, or majority of the jobs are gone. A scenario where AI is running the world and we have very, very few jobs left and we need to earn our living. How do we do that? Then we look at things like universal basic income and other ideas like that. And these ideas are still evolving. So there's that. But I think that that scenario, that paradigm is a little bit farther away. A paradigm that I think we are entering into it right now, or we have entered into that paradigm, is where when Linda becomes an expert in a AI tool or gets comfortable with AI, now Linda's competitors can't compete with her because she's way more effective, way more efficient, can produce a whole lot more than her competitors. So she's going to win. So what happens to the competitors? What happens to all those people who are commenting that AI doesn't exist and deepfakes don't exist, right? The people who are still in denial. That's a fact. There's a very large number of people who are in denial. I hear these statements every single day that I don't believe, quote unquote, believe in AI. And my response to that is AI is not a deity. It's not a God. It's not religion that you have to believe in. It's a technology. It either is or is not. Again, it's a binary question. You can argue with me how advanced it is. We can talk about that. But saying that I don't believe in it, it doesn't make sense to me. There are people who make statements like that. So what's going to happen to those people? I think as a global society, we have to think when jobs are disappearing. IMF came out, they issued a report, I think late last year, and they said that, yes, AI is going to impact almost every industry. And there were numbers thrown around like 40 to 60% of the jobs are going to get impacted. 40% of the jobs that exist today will disappear by the end of the decade. And over 60% of the jobs that exist today will get impacted by AI. And all industries will get impacted by AI. There was a survey that we conducted earlier this year, and we found out that over 78% business leaders, they said, they believe that within the next 3 years, I think they said that their businesses will be transformed by AI. But then when you ask them, what are you doing about it? You find out that less than 4% of these leaders are actually investing resources into building their AI capabilities. Majority of them, they are only focused on getting its benefits today, not thinking long-term sustainable integration of these technologies into their business models. So when you see those kind of things happening, when you see jobs getting impacted, when you see industry not taking as quick action and measure but to adopt these technologies, then we have to think about all these jobs that are going to get lost. IMF did say that there will be many new jobs that will be created within the emerging tech or due to the emerging tech. We don't know yet if the new jobs are going to fully offset the old disappearing jobs or not. That we don't know. If they're going to be as wages-wise and productivity-wise, if they're going to be comparable or not. We don't know that. What needs to be done? As a global society, I think we need to support the transitioning employees. So these employees would either learn new skills, or they would do something else, or they would just leave the job market. So that can happen. We need to look into social safety nets. We need to look into lifelong learning and upskilling initiatives. So those are just some of the ideas on top of my mind that needs to be thought about, needs to be talked about, and needs to be implemented at global scale. Because if people cannot reskill, retool, their jobs are going to get impacted, right? And when they're going through that transition, they still need to pay their bills. So there's something needs to happen there. And social safety nets, they need to be strengthened. So these are some of the things that can be done, needs to be done, that need to be done in the near term. And then in the long term, when more and more jobs get automated and start disappearing, then idea of universal basic income, even with the idea of universal basic income, one of the many objections that I've heard is that, well, people want agency, people want control over what they want to do with their lives, how they want to impact change. Then an idea of rewarding people based on something, based on participation, based on something, and giving them some value. This value is not necessarily money. I'll give you an analogy, an example. We built a blockchain-based product for the apparel industry. It's a logistics platform, essentially, where the raw materials of the apparel products, they are tracked from farm to the store, actually to the landfills after the product is thrown away. And then its carbon footprint is tracked. In order to accomplish this, we had to collect a lot of data. Some of that data comes from automated methods like IoT devices, but a lot of that data, especially when in the farms and fields, the data comes from humans. Why would those humans want to enter this data into the system if they have no vested interest? Then you reward them somehow. And the rewarding was we created this coin within this system, and based on their participation, we rewarded them. Now they can take that coin and they can exchange it with somebody else. They can use the coin within this system that we created. And if they don't want to, then they can trade that coin with somebody else against another cryptocurrency, for example, Ethereum or Bitcoin, and they can take it out and use it in the world as they see fit. So in that case, these individuals, they're not doing a lot of labor. They're not doing a lot of hard work. All they're doing is they're just participating in the system. And more they participate, more they earn. So that's one way. And this kind of model exists in the gaming world, video gaming world. More you play, more you earn points, and then you do something with those points. That's your industry. You know more about it. So that kind of stuff. All these are emerging ideas. I don't think we need them tomorrow. I think we need them, but probably down the road, farther down the road. So we need to keep exploring. So we'll be ready when the time comes.
What excites you most about the future of AI? What opportunities do you see?
What opportunities do I see in the AI industry overall?
Yeah, and what excites you?
What excites me? In terms of opportunities, first of all, the cybersecurity and anti-deepfake type technologies, they are the biggest. Lots of resources are going into that. So that's one. What excites me is when people understand why AI is doing what it's doing, and when people can create their own AI tools, when it becomes as simple as, you want to write something, you pick a pen and paper, write something. Because when that happens, then you have access to innovation at a speed that has never existed. You can think of any idea and you can turn into code, you can turn it into 3D model, you can turn it into an equation, you can turn it into whatever you want, right? Very quickly. Because using your natural language skills, you can just tell AI to, I have this idea, turn this into whatever. Mm-hmm. So that would be amazing. Another thing that excites me is that when a technology evolves, lots of support technologies, the ecosystem that evolves with that technology. So as AI is evolving and other emerging technologies are evolving, we need a lot of electricity. We need a lot of power because these things are power hogs. They need so much power. I read somewhere that currently in 2023, actually, 3% of the world electricity, or total electricity production was being used for blockchain and AI. And the estimate was that by the end of 2024, we'll be at 8%. To keep up with that sort of consumption, we have to find ways to produce more energy. Now, if we can find ways to create cheap and abundant energy, and then you have such speed of innovation where you can think of any idea and you can turn it into whatever you want through the use of these AI tools, this is like a perfect combination. Sky is the limit then after that, because majority of the world's challenges today can be translated. Majority of the facts around the world can be translated in the language of energy right now. Why we need to earn money? Because we need to buy energy, one form or the other. It's energy at the end of the day. Even, if you're talking about food, you need energy to produce food. You need energy to transport food, right? So if there was cheaper ways to create energy, and yet we had abundant energy, we had abundant knowledge, we had abundant creativity, just imagine the speed of human evolution from that point forward. So that's what really, really excites me on a larger scale.
I like it. Ending that in a positive note too, and the benefits of it. I really do. It's been a very enlightening conversation and I really enjoyed it. Just one more time, for those who didn't watch the other video, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Oh, the best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I do appreciate all comments. So comment, share your thoughts, and I'll try to respond if I can.
Thank you so much for your time once again. And it's been a great chat with you.
It's been a pleasure.